dealing with a son that's been diagnosed with autism. And yesterday he had like a violent episode where I had to have the police involved to calm him down. Like he was just
How old is your son?
Off. He's 13.
And where was the episode at?
At home.
Is he on medication?
Yes.
What does he take?
He's taken 4 or 5 different ones.
Okay, now, you know some of those medications that they take actually causes them to be more aggressive.
Yes.
So you might gotta, if you're taking 4 or 5 meds, I'm not a medical doctor, but that sounds like a bit too much for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that all those meds are coagulating with one another and they may be causing that aggression. Where's his biological father?
His biological father is incarcerated. He's been incarcerated since he was 1, so
okay.
He hasn't had a father for like 12 years.
Okay. Another question, and you said he's diagnosed with autism, and you agree that he's autistic, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is he high functioning, moderate, or low?
I would say moderate.
Okay, he's moderate. Now, here's the thing. All behavior responds to consequences and punishment. So I'm also wondering what kind of consequences are we giving him when he doesn't conform to your expectations in the house? Because this happened at home, not school, correct?
Yes.
Right. So do you have a behavior system in place? Because you got to have one. If not, he'll run all over you.
Yeah, when he started becoming aggressive yesterday, he was scratching everywhere, just trying to fight me or whatever. I had to get aggressive with him and pin him down and hold him down. And when the cops came out, like that's when he just calmed down. They were trying to take him away, and I told him he's good. I'm not going to take him away. He calmed down, and he's back to relaxing.
Okay, he doesn't have an intellectual disability?
Yes, he does.
He does. Okay. Okay, because he's autistic with the intellectual disability, I'm going to recommend that you do some kind of sensory things with him to calm him down. Massage, yoga. It wouldn't hurt to get him on some kind of a swim team. A lot of autistic children struggle with sensory regulation, and that could be the reason why he's flipping off like that. So he needs to get involved in something that involves touch, sensory stimulations, but low level, because autistic kids can get overwhelmed by it. So I don't know if he can go swimming on a regular basis. You might take him to get a professional massage like once a week. That tends to work wonders with the autistic kids. If he can get in some kind of a yoga class, anything that involves stretching or touching, even if you can get him involved in some sort of a horticulture program where they show him how to grow plants and dig in the soil. But I just kind of get the feeling that your son needs some kind of sensory therapy, any type of activity that will allow him to explore himself in a sensory manner, if that makes sense to you.
Yes. Another thing is, how do you feel? Okay, so he's autistic. His main issue is I took away the gaming system in his cell phone because I noticed some things or whatever on his phone and the gaming. So he's really mad about that. I took away the gaming. I took away the cell phone. So I'm like, I do need to get him involved in some type of activity because that's the main thing. Like, he was going off about his game yesterday and he just snapped and went off.
Okay, well, I'm glad. Yeah, I think you should regulate the time. I think it is never a good thing when our children have unlimited access to their phones and to these games because they get addicted to them. And they start snapping off. Like, you might want to limit it, maybe 2-3 hours a day or 2 hours a day. In China passed the law where in the country of China, kids can only be on the social media and video games for like 2-3 hours a week. That's it. That's it in China. And if the parents don't do that, they can go to jail. So, we need to start doing the same thing. You need to regulate it. There should be a time where he turns it into you and the time you give it to him. It should be on a schedule. It should not be every day, all day. He got other things he need to be working on.
Okay, so I took his gaming system away 2 months ago. So, in his cell phone. So, do you recommend, like, I could be like, hey, you can get it back?
Yeah, but make sure you're absolutely clear with him the conditions under which he gets it and the conditions under which it gets taken back. Make sure he's absolutely clear on that.
Okay, and what's your thoughts on medication with kids? Like,
For what condition?
for autism, how do you feel about
See, remember,
them being on medicine?
autism don't have no cure. And so there's no medication that's going to do anything about the autism. The medication is usually given to address the behavior aspects of autism. But I believe you should try some sensory activities first before you consider meds, because that's a very dangerous road to travel, because your son is already intellectually disabled and those medications are going to fry his brain even more. If we have to go there for your safety and his, then we have to go there. But I don't think we should go there until we try some sensory things first.
Okay, would you recommend me like having a period where I don't give him his medicine, like for 1 or 2 weeks to see how it goes, along with him doing sensory programs?
I would recommend that you have that conversation with the pediatrician. I don't think it's a bad idea, but you want to do that under the supervision of the pediatrician or the psychiatrist, whoever prescribed the medicine, and just tell them that you want to start stepping him down a little bit. And you also want to remove some of those meds. He needs to be off some, and you want to step him down, and you want to interrupt it occasionally. And by the way, you know, you have very good reason for wanting to have that conversation with the prescribing physician, because even when you look at the literature, it says that children should not take those medications consistently without interruption. They say that there should be some interruption there.
Thank you.
Because they become habit forming. You know, they're addictive, and they can also develop, a chemical dependence. So interrupting them is actually recommended, but they never do that with our kids. So yes, you should definitely speak to the doctor about that. But try to get him involved in something that involves touch, as soon as you can.
So you said massage, and what else? Swimming.
The massage, swimming, planting, like horticulture. Cooking is another thing. If he could get in some kind of a cooking class, anything that involves sensory stimulation will be good for him. Even music, if this, maybe he could start learning how to play an instrument, drums or saxophone or something he likes, but he needs something sensory.
Okay, thank you.
And reach out anytime you need to in the future, Queen.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right.
I just recently, about a couple of weeks ago, had a parent conference with my son's teacher. And mind you, he's in the first grade. And she was stating that academically he's on point. He's brilliant, scoring high on, all his tests and stuff like that. And then she was just saying, like, his behavior. Can you just talk to his pediatrician to see, basically to put him on medication?
You better not do it. You better not do it.
And I'm not, because I already knew where she was going, but she really wasn't really trying to say that. But I was just like, no, because I don't really believe that he needs that at all.
I wouldn't do it.
So,
she want him on drugs. She done already told you. What you should ask her is, what are you doing in your classroom to manage behavior? Every classroom is supposed to have a classroom management system. What does she do when your son is off task? What does she do when your son is on task? Does she use a chart? Does she use tokens? Does she use light taps?
She said she has used a reward system, different things she tried. She said he does it, and then, you don't,
She's not doing nothing. Tell me about this school. Is mostly black or white or what? The kids?
It's mostly white.
Oh, your son is in a mostly white school.
It's kind of like
okay, it probably wouldn't hurt to talk to the parents of the other boys to see if they're getting the same kind of complaints. But I wouldn't get him seen for no medication. No way, no how. What you might have to do is you might have to hire a black psychologist down there to go into the classroom and observe your son's behavior to see whether or not they agree with the complaints that the teacher is making, because she could be exaggerating the behavior problems. They do that a lot. They will exaggerate what's really going on. And then a psychologist goes in there or behavior specialist goes in the class to observe your son, and they might find out ain't nothing wrong with him at all, that there's other kids way worse than your son, and she not even worrying about them because they not black. I really do think you might have to have somebody going in to observe. I really do. Because all you have is what she says. You need eyeballs in that class. I would Google black psychologists and black behavior specialists in your county, and I would call one up and ask them, what would you charge me to go into my son's school and observe his behavior? And then I would write a letter to the principal. I would write a letter to the principal, and I would simply say to the principal, don't ask him, tell him. Okay, I retain the services of a psychologist or behavior specialist. They're going to come into the school to observe my son, to give me and the teacher some recommendations on how to manage his behavior. Please let me know what days and times is my son most likely to be off task, because those are the times that I want them to come in and to observe him. The observation should be 3 hours, 1 hour on 3 different days. 1 hour on 3 different days at 3 different times. It can't just be one observation, because what if he had a really bad day? What if he had a really good day? It should be no less than 3. 3 1-hour observations at the bare minimum. Never at the same time, never on the same day.
Okay.
I got another question for you. When do they get out of school? When's the last day?
The last day, I think, is May 23rd.
Okay, so what you're telling me is they only got 7 weeks of school.
Yes.
No way in hell would I get him tested for anything. I wouldn't get him put on no meds, no nothing. School is almost over. Our job is to get your son to the finish line. We got to get him to the finish line, and nothing will slow them down more than for you to bring somebody in there to observe. You feel me?
Yes.
You're doing that to kill time. Get him to the finish line. And you might learn some things about that classroom that she never told you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been like this all year.
I'm sure. But he made it to the end, though. The thing is, he at the end. We got to get him to the finish line.
It's just, he's a brilliant, little boy. But
well, remember, you're dealing with snow bunny racism. They don't care how smart your kid is.
Yeah.
They don't care how smart your kid is. They only care about how he behaves. Remember, since slavery, white people have always been preoccupied with doing what? Controlling black people's behavior. Think about it on your job. You might be the best worker on your job. They don't care. Do you conform to how they want you to act and think? You follow me? White people are always concerned about controlling us. They don't care how smart your son is. They only care about control.
Yeah, you're right. You are so right.
But yeah, I would get somebody to go in there and observe.
Okay.
Yeah, but the good news is the school year almost over. If we was having this conversation in September, October, then we have to go a whole nother route. But we at the end. We got to get him there. And then you need to also put your son on a behavior plan and let him know, hey, when you do well, okay, there's going to be a reward for you at the end of the week. We're going to put a calendar up. We're going to review your performance at home and school every day. 2 different color markers. You get a smiley face if you do well, sad face if you don't do well. If you don't do well, you got to get a consequence at home that day. And if you do well, you get a reward on the weekend. Activities. Stay away from toys and money. Activities with the parent.
Activities. Okay.
Yeah. So you got to create your own behavior plan, too, to help support what they're trying to do. But they trying to criminalize them. That's why we need our own schools. They don't care about our boys. They don't care about the public school is a plantation. First of all, it's a plantation where they teach black boys to submit to white power. That's what the purpose of public school is.
I kind of get that, because I just be telling my son, I'm like, son, I say, you got to realize these people is not rooting for you. They just want you to fail.
Yep.
I said, they just want you to fail in these schools.
Yeah, they do. They do. So
that's why I said that whole meeting was just, it was really a waste of my time, because I already know, because that's how it's been all year, about his behavior, his grades is good, but his behavior. I said, ain't no way you the only one in the classroom doing all of this.
You're not. That's why you need that observation. How many suspension days he had? How many suspension days he had this whole school year since September or August?
None.
Okay. And what grade he in again?
He's in first.
Okay, he a little kid. Yeah. Get somebody to observe him and slow him down. Get him to the finish line.
Okay.
All right, Queen. Reach out to me if you need me in the future.
Okay, I will.
All
Thank
right,
you so
now.
much.
No problem. Okay, gorgeous. All right.